developing trim and fastener packages. In this instructional video, we will discuss the creation of trim packages and how they are applied to any building you create with PostFrame Manager. Before we begin, it's important to understand that trim and trim placement are calculation based. The calculation begins with measurements on the building, just as if it were built on site. An example might be that the ridge cap calculation is based on the length of the ridge, inclusive of any overhang. Gable rake is the length of the gable, inclusive of overhang. The trim for the jambs of an overhead door is based on the height of the door. PostFrame Manager uses these measurements divided by the length of available trims you select to calculate the number of pieces of trim of the type you selected for that condition. So, if you have 4 24-foot gable runs, you may want 8 12-foot 6-inch trim pieces. That's 96 feet divided by 12-foot 6-inch piece lengths, or 8 pieces, including overlaps. Another thing to realize is that it is likely you will want to have more than one trim and fastener package at your disposal. Here's why. You may be a company providing estimates for a number of different builders. Because it seems that every builder applies trim differently, you will need to apply a specific trim package for builder X and another for builder Y, for example. Another example is that you may want to specify different length fasteners when applying insulation to a building. A third reason is that a different trim package will apply when a lean-to is added to your building. It is one type of trim when the roof of the lean-to begins at the eave of the primary structure, transition trim, and another type when the roof is offset and begins somewhere down the wall, end wall trim. Okay, let's begin creating a trim package. Open the PostFrame System Tools menu by clicking on the Tools menu under System Tools and Editors on the primary attribute screen. Select Trim and Fastener Package Editor from this screen. When you click on this item, the Trim Package Editor screen will appear. The trim and fasteners for your building are selected and calculated by using a package of items. In other words, you select which types and sizes of trim, screws, bolts, etc. that will be used and where to apply them. Once you've selected the items, you save them as a package. Then you can apply that package to any future building you create. The first step in the creation of a trim package is to select an existing package and make changes to it. You can create a new package from scratch by changing the name of the default package, which contains no data. However, it is vastly easier and faster to create a new trim package by making changes to an existing one. In this case, you may only have to make 5 changes, rather than starting from scratch where you'll have to make 50 or more selections. So select an existing package from the Name of Trim Package drop-down list at the top of the screen, and edit or type a new name over the top of an existing name in the space provided. Next, select your trim and fastener items. Note that there are 2 primary sections shown on the Trim Package Editor screen, each with an Accept Save button associated with it. The top portion, labeled Composition of Trim Package Accompanying Package Name, shown above, pertains to trim items: ridge vent, valley trim, wainscot trim, base trim, corner trim, slider rails, and so on. The bottom portion, labeled Composition of Fastener Package Accompanying Trim Package shown above, pertains, as you would expect, to fastener items: nails and screws, bolts, purlin hangers, slider trolleys, latches, staples, and so forth. Both packages are saved under one name and are accessed that way as a pair. To know what you will want to change, you may wish to view or print a summary of what is already specified by the Trim Fastener package from which you will start. Click on the magnifying glass to the right of the Name of Trim Package drop-down list. This will open a window summarizing the specifications of the selected package. In the display, the Where on the building is listed down the far right. In the middle is the type and size of trim specified to be calculated for that spot on the building. Color is not important in defining a trim and fastener package, as trim colors are selected via the Select Trim Colors and Options menu, which is accessed from the navigation menu. Make note of the changes you will want to make when you return to the editor. For fasteners, the where on the building value is accompanied by a quantity value. This quantity is the per measurement quantity by which fasteners are calculated. Examples are quantity of nails per splash to post connection, or quantity of screws per linear feet of ridge, or quantity of screws per square foot of roofing, or quantity of jamb latches per slider door. Quantities are relative to the unit of measure that is appropriate for the fastener being calculated. To make changes, beginning with the Trim Items window, select the trim category or placement on the building: ridge cap, overhead door header, window, jamb, base trim, etc. from the drop-down list labeled Trim Category or Placement. Simply select the items you identified in the previous step as needing to be changed and make the desired changes. If you want to apply a piece of trim to the area you have chosen, just check the box labeled Use. If you have more than one length of trim that you want the program to pull from during calculations, check the Enable Multiple Lengths checkbox as well. Once completed, you can now choose the type and size of trim you want calculated for that area of your building. For example, when choosing ridge cap and checking the Use box, you will select either the 20 or 14-inch widths, whichever you prefer, from the Trim Type window. Note that it makes no difference what color you choose, because you will apply your color choice from the trim selection screen when you create any building. See the Accessing the Navigation Menu instructional video for more information on applying trim to your building. Another example might be the selection for Valley Trim. In this case, you may want to both use it and enable multiple lengths. Then, just select any item shown in the Trim Type window. When you have finished making your selection, click the Accept Save button below the window. Click the Accept Save button each time you make a change to a drop-down item and placement. Valley Trim is a good example of how trim and fastener calculations are dependent on the existence of a condition in a building. Valley Trim should always be checked to Use, because it will only calculate if there is a valley condition on the building. Next, let's take a look at creating your fastener items. The bottom section of the Trim Package Editor screen is labeled Composition of Fastener Package Accompanying Trim Package, shown above. This means that trim and fastener packages are always a pair, as previously mentioned, rather than existing separately or independently. As with trim placement, you will first make a selection from the fastener placement drop-down list, such as girts, purlins, steel siding, roofing, and so forth. Let's use Splash Skirt Exterior as an example. When we select this item, the quantity shown at the right is 4, and the Use box is checked. Note the hint shown in red immediately below the category drop-down list. In this case, the quantity relates to the number of fasteners that you want specified for each post connection. In the selection window below, we see that 16-penny pole barn nails have been selected. It's important to take note of other pertinent information relative to this selection, however. The count column indicates that there are 57 such fasteners in a 1-pound box, and the cost of that box is $2.60. PostFrame Manager is going to calculate the number of fasteners you want specified times the number of posts to which the splash will be attached against the number of fasteners contained in a box, and thereby calculate the number of boxes that will be needed to complete the task, along with the resulting cost of those fasteners. So yes, PostFrame Manager is that detailed. Next, take a look at siding metal. We see the quantity specified is 0.7. Again, the Use box is checked. The hint, shown in red, however, indicates that in this case the calculation is based on the number of fasteners specified per square foot. The item specified is a 1 1/2 inch screw. They come $250 to a bag, and the cost of a bag is $19.30. So, based on the size of the building, PostFrame Manager will calculate the total number of square feet of siding that will be used and multiply that by 0.7 to provide you with the number of fasteners that will be required to complete the job. Then it will divide that figure by 250 to yield the number of bags of fasteners needed and the total cost of that number of bags of fasteners. Proceed applying your chosen fasteners to all remaining fastener placements in the same manner, being sure to reference the red hint text for proper quantity thinking. Each time you make a change to a drop-down item in placement, click the Accept Save button to save your choices to your newly named trim and fastener package. This ends the Developing Trim and Fastener Packages instructional video.